right from Desire is Everything podcast. I am an artist of life. That's pretty much it, man. I give y'all the same spiel every week. Today I have a special guest with me today, and she goes by the name Shameka SoSuccessful. How you doing today, Shameka?
I'm doing very well. Very well. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad. Thank you for reaching out to me. Like I said earlier, I know we need to bring more women presence, black women presence on our podcast, because that's just something we know is big in the community, the Indianapolis community, the black community. So I appreciate you for reaching out. We definitely gonna get to work. Definitely gonna get to work.
We got a lot of work to do.
Hey, ain't that, don't we all? But yeah, so I appreciate you. Like I said, just get jumped into it. What does success look like for you?
Well, my name says it all.
Yes.
Shameka SoSuccessful. I actually came up with that name, I would say like 2010. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much since then. But everything that I desire to put my mind to and just do, I've been able to do it. And been, I would say, successful. I've had some challenges, some up and down, some roadblocks, but I was able to do it.
Yes.
So that's what success looks like to me. Just putting your mind to something and actually doing it, achieving a goal that you put down for yourself.
Okay. So when you say you started your entrepreneurship journey in 2010, right?
I would say 2010.
What got you into entrepreneurship?
Maybe before then, but because I've been doing hair.
Okay.
Well, I don't do it now, but I started doing hair when I was like 12. And then as time went on, after high school, I went to a beauty college. So I think that started my road to entrepreneurship. I was like, okay, I'm a hairstylist. I don't want to work a regular 9-to-5. I'll take on this full time. So that's kind of where it started with being a hairstylist.
Okay. And then what all do you do now then?
Oh, man. Over time, I've done a lot. I even went in, right after being a hairstylist, I went into child care. I owned a daycare, and then I tried to expand into an actual daycare center. It didn't get fully open because I had some financial issues, so I steered away from that. I went back to corporate America and did some accounting work for a few years, and kind of led me into a lot of things that I'm doing now. Number one, I do assist people with building personal and business credit. That's where I got a lot of my skills from, being an accountant.
Okay.
And so I learned a lot about that, and I actually started doing that though back in 2020, I believe, helping people build credit. So that's one thing. I have multiple properties across Indianapolis where I do short-term rentals.
Okay.
Everybody knows it as Airbnb, so I would say Airbnb. I started that in 2018, and now I've transitioned into renting out my properties to travel nurses.
Okay, yeah, I heard that's big right now because I heard that Airbnb was actually going down, like plummeting, because the hotels it's becoming more expensive than hotels.
Yes, I would say for Indianapolis, because that's where I have my properties. It had its seasons where it would be down. So I would say from November to February for me, it was very difficult to keep them fully booked as to other seasons. So the weather, less people travel here. So I had to figure it out. As entrepreneurs, we got to figure it out. When the finances go down, it's time to make it make sense. So that's indeed what I did. I just was like, okay, what's the other avenue? I had a very special person tell me like, hey, have you heard of the travel nursing sites? And I'm like, no, I never even looked into it. So I did that, and I actually did that. I think it was this past year, last November.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, but it's been a great avenue to take. So that's one of the things. But my main focus, which is part of my biggest desire, is working with the youth in the community. So I started a company, a partnership with my partner Fatine Czar. Shout out to Fatine. But we started a company called Connected Roots LLC, and it's pretty much to mentor, tutor, just to give back to the community in a lot of different ways. We also have a nonprofit organization called Perfect Peace Corp, which we do a lot of the similar things with that company on a bigger scale. So that's my main focus, and that's my desire, is to teach the youth, teach the community how to be the best version of themselves.
Thanks.
And actually how to give them the tools, not just show them how to do it, but give them the tools, the resources, So at our company, we provide those resources, and just especially when it comes to financial literacy, we try to incorporate that really heavy with the youth, usually starting at around age 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say you start doing financial literacy with the youth around age 14, what does that look like?
And that my main focus, my partner probably say a little different, but my main focus of that portion is to get them to understand how to utilize their credit and what it looks like to put their social security number on an application when they're going to apply for a job, when they're going to apply for an apartment and things like that, just to get them prepared, so they know what it looks like behind the scenes. And this is how you step out into the real world when it's time to utilize those things. So that's what it looks like for me, is helping them learn themselves on paper, and how their credit and things like that works for them.
Okay.
And how to eventually we get into how to get credit cards, utilize the credit cards and their spending limits, and just financial literacy.
Yeah, that's dope, because I know within our community a lot of people aren't taught how to use credit.
Oh yeah,
and
for
so,
sure.
And that's
I
why
was one of those.
Yeah, and that's why we end up in the situations as far as Section 8 housing and the housing crisis, because when you aren't taught how to use the credit that we have as a citizen, and it's like,
yeah,
I mean,
that was a big gap in our community. And I was in those spaces not too long ago. I would say 2017. I realized that I was not financially free. And I realized that I was in poverty. I feel like my whole entire life up until that moment. I had a self-check. And my oldest at the time was a young teen, and he was like, "What do you know about credit?" He asked me.
wow.
And I was like, I know enough, because I'm mama, so I'm like, I know enough.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't. But he was homeschooled at the time, so he had a lot of time to study online.
That's great.
And he was like, check out this stuff. So he sparked my interest for actually stepping out and learning the full game about credit and financial literacy. Because even though I knew working in corporate America, I knew the accounting world and everything like that, but when it comes to like credit, I didn't really understand it fully, because I was just using mine like crazy when I was young and didn't really understand it.
Yeah, which a lot of us do.
Yeah, so that's what pushed me out there. It's like, okay, if he was that young, letting me know that I need to do things, then I need to give back. I need to give back to these children. Because a lot of children, he was, I believe, 14 at the time. 13, 14, somewhere around there. But a lot of children at his age are not even aware of, credit at all.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
they're still playing games, still playing sports, so it's like, what they really be focused on credit. But I think that's dope as far as being 14 and, like you said, having that free time to push himself to limits as far as finding out credit. Because when I was 14, I wasn't focused on no credit.
Not at all.
I think money didn't really start becoming an object to me, or something that I wanted to obtain, until probably 16, 17. Because I remember back in 2020 is when Forex got big. But that was when they was doing the I Am Academy, the whole pyramid thing. And so, I mean, at that age, you 16, 18 years old, I mean, you bored, you got a lot of free time because you obviously ain't going to school.
Yeah.
You're going to try to figure out something.
Oh, man. And the internet, the technology we have now was able to push him, and it pushed me, and I was like, okay, I got to keep up with the times.
No, for real.
But credit change, a lot of things about credit changes over time, just like our technology systems. Like, it's always updating. It's always new things being implemented. So I want to be able to provide those tools for the youth that's coming in. And I always say the youth because they're our future, but it's really our community, because we have young adults. Like I said, I was really young. I was a young adult and didn't know much about credit. So we have young adults. We even have the older adults that don't even know much about credit. Like, I don't want to say their names, but I have people in my family that's 40 plus.
No, for real.
And they know nothing. So I try to give them the information as well and incorporate that into the community.
What are 3 of the biggest tools that will help people understand credit or become more knowledgeable about credit?
Awareness. Just being aware, like knowing that your credit exists, and finding something like credit reporting systems like Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Getting familiar with those systems and actually being aware of what your credit is. So I would say 14, 15, you won't have much to pull you won't see much. You got to start to build. So I would say just being aware, like, okay, I know that I need to do this. That's the first step. And this is what I need to move forward. She's saying, look at, like I tell my students, look at the reports, look at when you're applying for jobs. A lot of people probably don't know, but when you are applying for jobs, whatever you put on the application is building a public record, a database for it to go onto your credit report.
Okay.
So, and it goes all the way back to school, like when you're doing applications in school as well, but stepping out into the real world, getting a job, you have to apply, and whatever you put on there is starting to build a public record, public record for you out there in the digital world, should I say. So just being aware and using the tools that's available. I have so many, this podcast will run over if I continue to talk, but I have so many tools, but I'm trying to make the community aware and get them to pay attention to that stuff.
So when you say public record and then applying for a job, so are you speaking more of a term of being a credible person? So like if you're putting your social security down and then that job, the job you're calling calls your previous job, like, hey, who is this person?
So that's actually a good question, because that is a form of public record, but what I was referring to is more digital.
More digital.
Is data.
Okay.
So everything that we put on the application, even if it's paper, going back to the ancient days, paper applications, those employers are going to enter that into a database. They're going to put your application into a computer system, and then it's going to go into whatever the coding process looks like on the technology side, but it's going to pull all that information for your particular name, for your everything about you, from your name, your date of birth, your address, all of that. It's like, I call that the foundation. It's your foundation.
No, for real.
It makes up who you are in the data world. So whenever you put your information on there and you sign off, that is going into a data system.
So at that point, they pretty much know what they need to know about you.
They do, and discrimination is in the little clause and all that stuff, but it happens. They're not supposed to, but they know ahead of time when they're hiring people. They kind of know a little background about you. Public record too is, I think a few people know, but public record looks like criminal history or background checks, because that's easy accessible online as well. Like, they can pull that without even having to pay $1. So that's public record as well.
That's crazy, because I know anytime you like try to do or get involved with certain organizations, they do a background check. They make you spend money.
Yeah, they make you spend money. I don't know what that is. I can't speak for a lot of companies, but it'd be gimmicks to me. They don't really have to spend money. They may use a different type of data system that may give them more information. But the very basics of what they're looking for, especially on a state level, it can be pulled with little, like I said, not even $1 sometimes. So that's a part of public record too, though. Your background, your education, it's a lot of factors actually. But
so why do you? So when you say gimmick, you think they're just trying to get
money.
some bread?
I mean, it's how the U.S. is set up.
Yeah, capitalism. I mean, everybody wants that.
It's like lack of knowledge. So if people don't know better, they're gonna pay for it.
For sure.
Yeah. Or I mean, and I've even had work for a company where I was like, well, how about I provide you my background check, so I won't even have to pay for it. It was hesitant a little bit, but they ended up, okay, that's good enough. But yeah, what are we paying for? Because I don't even have a criminal history. Yeah. So what are we really paying for? It's like a knowledge. So.
No, that's crazy, and I'm not shocked, honestly. Like you said, we live in America.
Yeah.
They gonna try to get their last dime out of you if they can. So.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. So I didn't really realize that they was making people pay for background checks when you really don't even have to pay.
No, you don't. But like I said, not to knock their hustle, it's certain things they may want to see that you may not be able to find on the actual public record, because that's basic. The free stuff is basic. So they may want to do some other type of digging, and I don't know how those systems work, but I think some of them may charge because of that. They want to see more.
I want to see more.
Yeah.
Okay, that's more understandable. So when you say your oldest child was homeschooled, do you recommend homeschooling?
Yes.
You do?
I do. Homeschooling or online school.
Okay.
Because a lot of parents, even I had to transition from homeschool to actually online system, public system, like a K-12 program.
Okay.
But yeah, I recommend it highly, especially with the times changing and everything being different now. Just technology, I recommend it. It doesn't. Everybody's different, so we can't say what works for everybody.
Facts.
But yeah, like my oldest children are all online. Well, my oldest did online. My daughter, my second oldest, she's online her senior year, and my nephew, which I recently adopted, he's online as well. My youngest is 8. He's still in school.
Still in school.
Yes. So I have my reasons, but I'm pretty sure he'll convert over to either homeschool or online.
So when you say you have your reasons, then him converting, is it your choice that they're doing homeschooling, or it's like a conversation?
It's mutual.
Mutual.
Yeah, it's mutual. Especially going into high school for my nephew. I did let him go into high school.
Okay.
And his focus wasn't really there. And coming from what he's been through, and the reason why I took him in, which we'll get into that one day. I suggested him going online and trying it online. He didn't really agree with it at first, but then he noticed how he was being treated in the schools, and he was like, okay, I do want to try. Let me at least try. So we did it the last half of his freshman year.
Okay.
And I think it went great. He actually liked it because he didn't have to get up at a certain super early. Like, he didn't have to get up at like 5 a.m. to get off to school. So he enjoyed that part of it. His social life kind of was a little bit off. That part he didn't really like. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
But when we talked about it because he's a sophomore now, we talked about it going into his sophomore year. He says he wants to go back, but it's more for social. So I'm like, what if you get more involved in these community activities that we're doing? And that's what we've done. So far, so good. So hopefully he won't even ask to go back. But if he does, we'll reevaluate. Yeah. I try to reevaluate every semester.
No, that's dope. Because I think a lot of it, or at least as far as the school aspect, because I wasn't the best student. I mean, I knew I could have applied myself a lot better, but I mean, I was getting the A's and B's, so I really...
Yeah, exactly.
What else?
It's like, if I'm passing, I'm getting a good, listen.
And so I showed up, I did what I had to do, but I mean, other than that, school wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so when I think of school, I think of, like you said, more of a social aspect, building those key relationships. And I went to a smaller private school. So when it comes to schools like that, they're trying to build those relationships so you can come back one day and help the school out however you can, or just keep you around. Yeah. And so that's why when I hear about school and homeschooling, like the different choices, I would prefer private school.
Yeah,
or at least,
and I don't know much about the private school, but if I did, I'm sure I'll be on that same.
Yeah, and I think it's really, like you said, just the child itself, the student itself, because you can have those students who will go ahead and knock out them assignments, but don't want to be messed with or don't want to talk to anybody.
And that's my daughter.
Exactly.
She don't like the social part, so she's like, I'm gonna finish this out online. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
She's ready to get it done, and she does very well. Her grades are excellent. So it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Facts. And so, but it's like another aspect, because like I said, for me, when I got out of high school, obviously I didn't go to college, but I'm in plumbing now. I didn't really have a social aspect or like social relationships that I was building outside of school. And so for a year or two, I was just sitting around trying to go to business. Yeah. But then once I started getting out to these events, I'm making better friends than I was at school.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like,
right?
And it's like, is school really necessary? Like, I mean, obviously you need to have some form of education.
Listen, my take on that too, no. Self-study is the best.
No, that's
the highest
education
is self-study. And I'm going to say it on 2 different levels. Self-study, studying ourselves and knowing ourselves.
Facts.
That's the highest form of degree of education, is to fully learn yourself and know you. But in the same way, like, self-study as far as what you are learning, even what you picked up in school.
Yeah.
You have to do your own research. You have to do your own study in order to fully understand the pros and the cons of whatever you were taught, because it's always something more.
Very.
It's always something more.
And when you say it's always something more, and just learning more about your about different things in like the government. I don't know if you know who Wall Street Trapper is.
Sounds a little familiar.
Yeah, but he's pretty big in the black community. He does a lot within stocks and investments.
Okay.
And I was listening to a podcast one day, and he was like, a lot of people think that the system is set up against us, or we can't beat the system when, and I'm talking about from the money aspect. But it's like, no, the system is set up for you to play the system the way it's supposed to be played.
Like they want us to play it.
Yeah.
But there are ways for us to win and be financially free with the way they have it set up. Yeah. So I get that. I'm not against it at all.
Yeah. And that's why it's like you said, with more, like, if you just take that time to study, and I feel like homeschooling itself will give you that.
It gives you a lot of time.
Yeah, like you said, you had a 14-year-old who's teaching you about credit, or asked you what do you know about credit.
Yeah, he's supposed to be on this assignment, and he's got another tab open where he's researching, how to start his own business. He actually did at 14. He structured his own LLC at the time.
Sure, we got him on here.
Yeah, he's super dope. He's super dope. I like to brag about my children because they're greater than me.
You got to, and that's what I love about my pops is he gives me my credit.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I know this. Yeah, I love it.
And it's like because when like our relationship, when you sit and see like how it plays out, he's been building this up for me. And so for him to hand me the ball here at 18, 19, 20 years old, it's like, man, let me.
He did an amazing job as a teacher, and you as a student, and vice versa. He's a student and you're the teacher as well, like it was for me and my child. But y'all doing amazing.
Oh, like, y'all doing amazing too. Appreciate you. And so I think that I give y'all kudos to that, because I just think that's so dope, to where you raise your children and now 14 years old starting LLC.
Yes, and my nephew is actually he wants to do drop shipping, so. He came up with the name, I'm setting him up too. Like, he came up with the name, he's ready to get started with that. But we've been focusing on the credit aspect of things, because I even told him, like, business credit. Yeah. If you want to do this and you want to have proper funding and the things you need to start off, because I'm not handing you anything, then you need to learn business credit too. So I've been teaching him a lot of things before he jumps out. A lot of things that my oldest had went through that we knew was kind of like, how do I want to say it? Basically, we shouldn't have went that direction. Like, okay, that didn't really work out, so let's do it a different way. And it's different times right now. So it's like, I'm teaching my nephew not to go down those same avenues. Yeah. Like, this is what we shouldn't do, and this is how we should try to do it this time around. So that's kind of where we are with him and him growing.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about life, or just business in general, is knowing where you went wrong the first time, or just evaluating your experience. Yes. Evaluating how it went, and obviously if it didn't play out that way, okay. Yeah. How can I correct it? So then when these bumps come back up, let's go this way. I went that way.
Exactly. It's the journey. Like, I embrace the journey. I used to be frustrated about my journey when I didn't know myself, but it's really the journey. Like, I love the obstacles, even the opportunities. I love the challenges. I love everything about my journey that I've been through, because it's helped me. It's expanded my mindset on things, giving me a lot of different perspectives. So now I'm able to be really successful. When I came up with that name back then, it was just a name, but it's real now.
So when did you come up with the name?
It was like, I think 2010. 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. Okay. Yeah, and it was just on some entrepreneur stuff. I was my partner, that's my partner now at the time, had like a modeling agency. She's like, hey, you want to model? I'm like, sure. So I did that with her, and I believe I didn't have a Facebook or something at the time. So when I set up my Facebook, I just put Shameka SoSuccessful. So it was just a thing that I did. And I just carried it the whole time.
No, for sure. Yeah. And I think that's the dope thing about social media, or about doing what you love doing, is you get to put your name on it. Yeah. And so if you have a catchy name, Shameka SoSuccessful, you can put it on, and that's gonna make people want to intertwine with you.
Exactly. And I think when Facebook was doing some changes, they tried to get me to change it at some point, I think, to like put my full name at one point or something. And I think I did everything I could to go around it, and I was successful. I didn't have to change it.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, I didn't have to change it. So I was just going to keep it.
Yeah, like and it sounds dope, because it's when people think of success, obviously they're going to think of the wealth, the riches. Yeah, for sure. But it's deeper than that.
Oh, yes. It's way deeper.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So when they come to you and they see, oh, okay, so this is how she's successful. Because that's why my question was, what does success look like to you? Because I feel like naturally everybody has a different way of defining success, and it looks different to everybody.
Yeah.
But we just have to sit and think about it.
Yeah. And back then when I created it, I would have said success is like having a lot of money and just being rich and wealthy, because that was my mindset back then when I made the name. That's what I wanted. So it was that simple to me, but it's way deeper than that. Especially with me knowing who I am and studying myself, learning myself, getting to know me, doing a lot of work. Yes, that's what success looks like for real. Me. Yeah. I am success.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think I am is so strong because you're really putting it on you.
Yes.
Like,
it is.
You put in the work, you created this lifestyle, this art form, and you live through it each and every day. Like that is the real part of success that a lot of people don't realize, that because we get so trapped in this media or trapped in what they want to push.
That's right.
And so when that happens, then it's like, oh, well, success looks like this. I can't never attain it. No, you can.
You can.
You just got to change how you moving at that point.
How you moving, and it's whatever success looks like to them, and it's levels.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's levels. So wherever you are in your life, there's going to be a success level there, and then when you make it to the next level, it's going to be success there in some way. But people have to be open to receive that and understand that for themselves. Because, I mean, nobody can do it, but, like, only I can do what I want to do with my life. And only I can achieve the goals that I want to achieve. I can't put it off on somebody else. Or I can't have that expectation of somebody else to make me successful.
No, for sure.
So.
Like you said, you can't rely on people.
Exactly.
I think a lot of society, we like to rely on people. And so then when they play us,
it's easier to rely on.
It's a lot easier. And so, because like I said, I do plumbing. And so for the aspect of me is, I work for a company right now, and I plan on working for that company as far as the plumbing aspect.
Okay.
Like, I've been asked, do you want to have your own plumbing business? I know what goes into it, and I know how hard it is.
That's right.
No.
You know what you want to do with that. That's
I know what I want to go to sleep with, and as far as my business and how I can lay down and not having to worry about like
those responsibilities and things might be pretty major.
Major, because it's the aspect of your like anything that goes wrong, it can affect somebody's livelihood.
Yeah, I can
so when we talking about the HVAC system, heating, air conditioning, or just water, plumbing, gas, electrical, that's big on a lot of people. And so one mishap will cost a lot of money or just a lot of damage to your reputation.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's no way you can get it back.
Yeah, of course.
But
I
know what I actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, you know what you enjoy.
And
it's part of your journey.
Yeah, so it's different ways about how you just go about owning a business or just different things, like you said, relying on people. Like, I'm cool with relying on people on certain things. Yeah. But if it's something I want to do, then I'm going to put it all on me at the end of the day.
You have to.
I'll make sure it happens. So you said you have not-for-profits, right?
I do.
Okay, so what are your major goals with the not-for-profit? Or like, what are some things that you do with it?
I have so many goals. I aspire to, like I said, teach people how to be the best versions of themselves. Like, having those tools. So my biggest goal right now is to get a big enough space to be able to staff employees that's teaching them how to utilize their credit. So I won't have to be the main source, because I feel like I've mastered the credit side. So I want to be able to train other employees to teach the youth in the community how to do it the way that I know how. And so that aspect, to have employees teaching about mental health, that's the biggest portion that I'm working on. To get people into meditation, yoga, just getting them to understand themselves as a part of mental health. So I want to have staff in the space for that. I want to have staff in the space for, what else did we have? So we have financial literacy, mental health, emergency temporary shelter from for the children that's leaving their actual homes and going into foster homes. Because that's where I started with my nephew. So it's like a passion for me, but having enough space in that same building, that same location to be able to house those children as well. So that's my biggest goal, is just to get in the space, and I've been working on it. I'm looking into some organizations that might potentially help me as a nonprofit get that type of space and multiply. I want to go different states and do it. So I'm sitting here today, different
Yeah,
states
you are
doing this.
and that's the thing. Like I said, the more work you do, and the more things you work towards, it's only bound to happen.
Indeed.
And so I think that's beautiful. And then what I also realized, it seems like the work that you're trying to create for other people, or the habits, like the credit thing, or the the foster home stuff.
Yeah.
You've experienced that, or you have some form of relation to it.
Indeed.
And so you see how it can help people if you're being that source.
Yeah, it helped me. It definitely helped me. A lot of those resources that I mentioned, when I got my nephew, he lacked a lot of things, so when they helped me, and I was like, oh, it's people out here that actually do this type of stuff. I don't want to be that person that actually do this type of stuff, to help these children, to help their families, the mothers, the fathers, the broken homes. How do we get them back together, or how do we fix it so they can move on and build healthy families? Like, I have a lot of aspirations.
And that's the dopest thing, is because that's when you have some form of relation to it, that's where the passion really comes.
Yes.
And when you complete those tasks, and that's where the fulfillment comes. And
Yes.
it's like, I'll need that fulfillment again.
Yeah. And I feel like my fulfillment will be just multiplying what I've produced in Indianapolis, and then to have more in another state, and then I'll feel fulfilled. And okay, where's the next state, or where's the next country? Like, what do we got to do to keep building this empire for myself, my family, and the community, and the other children as well?
So when you say, what do we have to do, have you figured out some of the steps to do it?
Yeah, I have my steps.
Okay.
I do. I have my steps, but I think it pretty much starts now. It starts now, like what we're doing. That's the main step, and it's just like one foot in front of the other. Just keep going.
So how often do you hold events for the credit or the non-for-profit?
Honestly, I've only held one this year.
Okay.
I need to get my schedule a little better to be able to do it, or I need to get to working on the training side.
Yeah.
So I can teach people how to actually present it the way that it should be presented. Well, in my eyes, should I say. But yeah, I only had one this year.
And what was that one?
It was actually to teach the youth how to start to build their credit. Yeah.
Okay, because I remember when we first met, you were talking about doing a diaper drive.
Oh, I did the diaper drive.
So you did do that too?
Yes.
And how was that?
That was amazing. It was successful. We had a lot of volunteers. We had some sponsors. Some people donated. But it was successful. I had some great connections with the spot that I was able to use to hold the event. But yeah, we do a lot of community work like that, feeding the hungry.
I think I heard about you doing that too.
Yes, we feed the hungry. We actually got another one coming up here at the end of August for feeding the hungry, and then another diaper drive, I think, in September. So we're planning to keep it in rotation when it comes to those type of things for the community, and build bigger events where we are able to give back, and not just food, not just the diapers. It'll be other things.
Yeah, it's deeper than the things we're doing now. Like you said, not just the diapers. I think a lot of it is just you just need those couple steps.
Yeah.
And so
I was in a creative space when I was thinking about that stuff. I'm like, okay, I just need to do it. So it was like the first steps, and we put it together, and to me it seemed rushed, but it worked out how it was supposed to work.
Yeah, it worked out. Like that's the same thing with our back to school drive.
Exactly.
At that time, they're not expensive, but they do cost. And so if I'm able to obtain it, or obtain a decent amount of it, then let me just go ahead and push it out.
Yeah.
And then regroup, sit back, and okay, how can we scale this? How can we make this bigger?
Do you guys have a nonprofit organization?
No, we were thinking about it, and we might start one, but it's still in talks. It's I want to say, so that Saturday we had the back to school drive. I believe we sat down and talked that Sunday, the day right after, and just talked about how we can do it better or bigger.
Scaling.
Yeah, and scaling. And so I think that was the beautiful part about it. It was okay, this one was successful.
It
so
was.
How can the
and
next
y'all got
one?
rid of those in less than an hour, was it?
Less than an hour. We had to start early. We even had to start early, which was a crazy part. But then the fact of we got rid of everything in less than an hour.
Yeah.
150. It was 150, I believe. We started out with, and then I know you came, and we appreciate you for that, for bringing those. And then so we probably finished with 175 or maybe around 200 backpacks given away. And so I think that's a lot. Like 200's a lot.
That is. And this, I didn't even imagine that it would go that fast. Like, I didn't know what it looked like, but you guys were a great example, letting me know, like, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's a need.
And it is. But I think for us, we promoted it well. And then
you guys are good at that.
Yeah, because I mean, we all know social media, how we know it. Like, the thing about Damon and Jamal, I feel like they have the best social media promotion.
Yeah.
Like, brother Jamal is posting his stuff every other day or every day, letting people know his products or what he offers.
Branding ourselves. That's part of branding ourselves.
And so I think that's the dope part about it. But then if we connect with the right people or connect with the right organizations.
That is that's the main part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
because I don't do as well. Sorry.
No, you good. No.
Branding myself, but when I connect with people, with other people, like-minded individuals, that is when it takes off.
Because my dad liked to say, your network is your network.
And that's true.
And so all you need is that one person to believe in you, and you can go from what you think is a small seed to a whole tree.
Yeah.
And people be like, dang, how you get like that, man?
I got connections.
Yeah, you can lock in. And so I think that's the dope part about it, because we were just, like, I don't know, we weren't expecting as many people, but we also respect, like, we knew it was a need. And so I know I had put it on Black Dollar India a couple of times, which is pretty big. But I feel like sometimes the stuff you promote on there, you just put out, it gets lost in it.
It gets lost, yeah, sometimes.
And so you never know, but then I end up seeing, like, people was posting ours within, like, the top big, like, the big ones.
See?
And I'm like, yo, what? Like, this kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's the good thing about social media, though. You gotta at least put it out there.
Yeah.
You never know who it's going to connect with or catch, so you gotta at least put it out there.
And then, like you said, build those connections. So that's why I'm always at these events trying to.
Same here.
Hey.
I just started networking, and even though I've been an entrepreneur, this year is the first year I really can truly say I've started networking in real life. Like, I did a lot of networking on social media.
Yeah, that's what I thought that was going to help you.
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta
so I did that for years. And man, when I tell you, it was just breaking a barrier for me, like me being, I would say, shy, or me not wanting to open up and talk to people and tell my story. I'm a good listener, so I would just always go to places and just listen.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, open your mouth, talk about what you're doing, talk about what you want, and y'all might find a partnership in that some kind of way with just speaking to people. So that's what I did.
And then, because I've always been able to talk. Like, I used to get in trouble in school for talking.
I did too. When I was a kid, and I'm telling you.
And that's the thing, like, looking back on it now, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. As a child, you just have to know when to talk and when not to. But if you can make people laugh, if you can, you know, keep a conversation with people or just build that relationship with people, you'll be able to use that 10 times more when you become an adult.
That's right.
But I think as society, we condemn those kids, so then at a point they just shut it off.
And that's kind of how I was. Well, I wouldn't say I was condemned, but I used to get in trouble so much for talking, to the point where when I got in 4th grade, I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, I created a book called Chattering Chelsea. And I remember my teacher asking me, like, why did you create that book? I was like, well, y'all said I talk too much, so this is a reflection. I'm just putting it in a story.
That was dope, though.
And it was a great story, and I think my dad still has the book, but it just shows me, like, back then, they made it seem like a problem. I was able to create a book off of it, and then every time I have issues with speaking or connecting, I go back to that childhood memory. Like, I made a book about me speaking and talking too much, so let me get out here and do it.
That's
so
all
I made good of it.
That's all it is, because like you said, I was the same way. I used to get in trouble for talking.
Yes.
And I think at a point, I was like, all right, let me stop talking.
Yeah.
But then, I think, because what happened, so obviously in high school, they take recess away. Middle school, they take recess away. So I was like, all right, maybe I do need to chill out. But it was like, where else does that energy go if y'all making me sit?
It's going to go to something different, and you're going to be getting in trouble somewhere else.
Literally. And so I think, I mean, obviously just, it changed, and so I was able to utilize it how I need to utilize it.
Good.
And so I think that helped. But it's like, we have to, I feel like as young adults in this next generation coming up, we have to be able to explain this to kids different. Like, obviously now we're trying to teach you, you shouldn't be talking as much, but I think you can use it to a benefit to different aspects of, like, what the child likes.
Exactly.
And that's all
what
it
I do
is.
with my 8-year-old. It's like, he's obsessed with soccer, but he talks too much like how I did when I was a kid. Well, that's what they say in school, so I let him express at home. and he wanted to start like his YouTube channel, so I let him do a little. But he is open and active and expressing himself, talking. But I'm giving him that space. It's like, don't really do it as much at school. Wait till you get home and use this energy and put it all out there.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
We just have to find better ways to allow kids to be themselves.
Yeah, to be expressive. Like,
and so like, I think it's dope the way you said YouTube. Like, these kids be, like, regardless of the money, they be creating a whole personality on YouTube. Like, my brother, I forgot what the kid's name, but my brother used to watch his kid named, like, Ryan or something.
Oh, yeah. My little one used to watch Ryan all the time.
And for him, that kid, 5, 6 years old at the time.
Yes.
And he has toys in Walmart and Target. As a kid.
Yes, as a kid.
But all he's doing is just being himself.
Being himself, and kids love to watch it. That's why I told my son. And
that's all it is. And I think what the problem is, a lot of it is we put too much on kids.
We do.
And so when you do tell them, all right, don't do this, they going to take that and run with it like, all right, I'm not supposed to ever do this.
Yeah, exactly, because that's how I was.
Yeah.
I remember.
And so I think that's dope, is just as far as like knowing how you were raised and knowing the different aspects of where to go different with your kids.
Indeed. Yes, I've learned a lot.
A lot. And I mean, I've learned a lot just from being a son. Like seeing how I was raised and where I can go different now. Like using my gifts to my abilities.
That's right.
And so I think it's just dope. Like, that's just the beauty of it.
You think you'll have your own soon?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know how soon.
Yeah.
I want to get. No, I want kids for sure. Like, I want a family. But shoot, it's just, I want to build that lifestyle to where I know I don't have to ever worry about certain things happening. So it's like, I would rather grind now.
That's right.
So I can rest later.
Grind now and just make sure you fully know yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important
for sure.
part, is knowing yourself.
Yeah, because a lot of it is we have kids raising kids.
That was me. I had my first at 15.
Yeah. And so when that happens, it's like, well, I barely know myself, or I'm barely, well, obviously I'm not grown myself, or I'm not equipped to where I need to be myself.
Exactly.
But I have a whole nother responsibility, so I have to put myself on the back burner to raise.
My childhood was done.
Yeah.
14, I got pregnant, my childhood was done.
Yeah.
And then it was like, now I have to be an adult. Well, in my head, it's telling me I have to grow up, but I still got childlike energy, like fully.
That's
so,
it.
Yeah, just knowing yourself. I didn't know anything about myself at that age.
But I think we also have to give ourselves grace. Like,
yes, indeed.
We know, okay, cool, I did this, now how can we go? And so it's beautiful because, so would you say you and your child grew up together?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. And our relationship now, like I said, he's taught me. He's still teaching me to this day. Like my businesses and the things that I got going on, he's still teaching me things. Because the generation is learning at the speed of light, like with the internet. So he's always coming to me with new tactics and ideas. Like, have you tried this? Have you used this? Have you used that? I do believe he introduced me to the AI system when he was talking about the chat GPT.
AI, a whole other conversation.
Yeah, but he introduced me, so it's like the generations to come, I'm paying attention to them.
Yeah, we got to.
I'm learning, teaching all day with these children. I'll be so impressed. Because even the things I missed back when I had him when I was 15, I'm learning now, like from them, from their studies and what they picked up in school. It's like, dang, I missed that. Teach me more. You didn't learn it in, my daughter's like, you didn't learn it in school? Maybe I did, but I missed it. Teach me more. Yeah. And
I think that's dope because I know my brother comes home and tries to, ask me questions. I'm like, bro, I don't remember none of this.
Yeah, that's how it be.
So I'm like, either I don't remember it or I probably ain't learned, but you gonna have to teach me.
Yes, teach me. And then they do it different a little bit too, for most things.
Because I know he be asking me about math homework. Man, after middle school, math was cooked.
Yeah, so, man. I don't even want to speak.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you really asking the wrong person, but let's work through it together. Yeah. I mean, sometimes we figure it out, and then sometimes we got to call my sister. So then we all sit there, work it out, try to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's giving that ability to, learn different things, or how do you do it? How do I do it? How do we solve problems?
Different perspective. That's what life is. Different
that's all I talk about is different perspectives.
It's real.
Yeah.
It is real.
Because I think we were talking about something earlier, me and Bass, about just perspective. Oh, it's about going to work or just getting up.
Okay.
And so it was like asking yourself, do I want to do this? And obviously you do, because that's something you picked up. That's like a skill that you learned, or just something you obviously enjoy doing, knowing it's better for you. But your perspective on it.
Yeah. That's deep.
Do I want to do this,
Uh-huh.
or no, I get to do this?
Yeah.
This is my life. So just having that different perspective on the small things, so then it plays into the bigger things.
Wow.
And so I think perspective is one of the most beautiful things, because it's like you learn a lot from it. And so what do you have planned next as far as for your not-for-profit or your different events and stuff?
I just picked up a couple contracts with other agencies to get more children involved.
Okay.
To work with more children, should I say. So that's next. Just working on some heavy funding, grant programs and things like that I'm trying to get. So that's what's next. Once the funding comes in, to be honest, it's gonna take off.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at. I don't want to say too much.
No,
certain things I keep with me, but that's pretty much where
we want to give you that space for people to know, all right, this is what I need to be looking for.
Gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah, we like I said, we all about promotion. We all about getting our people out here and letting people know this is what's available to you at your hands. You just got to show up.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to give
I
you that space.
appreciate the opportunity.
This
is a big thing for me. It's me, like I said, me being more vocal and speaking. Because I go in my shell sometimes and I'm like, no, get out there and do it. So that's why I reached out. I'm like, hey, how do I do this? What I got to do?
Show up. That's all we ask. Just show up. Here's the day. Here's the address. Show up. That's all we need you to do. So we appreciate you for being here. Where can the people find you at?
You guys can find me on all social media platforms, Shameka SoSuccessful. Yes.
Okay. Y'all heard that. Shameka SoSuccessful. Once again, it's a desire. Oh, wait, hold up. What do you desire?
My desire, I'm going to say it one more time for the ones in the back.
Come on.
Is to teach the youth, the community, how to be the best versions of themselves. Of themselves. Everybody is different. Everybody has different agendas and different things that they aspire to be. But if I can connect with individuals, I would love to teach them how to be the best version of themselves. That's my desire. And that desire is everything to me.
Preach.
It
Preach.
is everything.
We appreciate that, yeah. Your desire is everything. Die.